Hey, I'm Nia Emil, and today I'll be discussing the revival of braids in the mainstream media. So, to begin, I broke down this topic into four main sections. The first section that we'll be discussing is called the early origins of braids. Hair braiding has roots in ancient Africa. Many experts actually believe that cornrows are the oldest braiding style. In the 1950s, a French ethnologist and his team discovered a rock painting of a woman with cornrows in the Sahara Desert. Through their research, they were able to find out that this painting dated back to 3500 BCE. That's crazy. If you do the math, that's about 5,000 years ago, meaning it's the earliest depiction of braids. Ancient African communities fashioned their hair for more than just style. Throughout the continent, a person's hairstyle could tell you a lot about who they were and where they come from. In the book Hair Story: Untangling the Roots of Black Hair in America, authors Ayanna Bird and Lori L. Thorpes explain that braids and other intricate hairstyles were historically worn to signify marital status, age, religion, wealth, and rank in society. From kings' ornate beaded braids to special head dresses worn by new mothers, these styles had deep cultural and historical roots. It could take hours and even days to create these artful looks, so hairstyling was also an important social ritual, a time to bond with family and friends. Braiding was and still is a social art. Braids also transformed into a tool for slaves looking to escape. Because drawing or writing directions was risky and often difficult with little to no education, they would cornrow their hair to help map escape routes, braiding the plaits into patterns that resembled roads to travel or roads to avoid. Small bits of gold and seeds were hidden in the braids to sustain them from their escape. Now I'll be moving into the second section, the movement. It wasn't until the Black Power movement in the 1960s that shifted our perception of our hair. The movement really affirmed us and rejected the Eurocentric framework of beauty. Black Americans were developing a deep desire to honor our African roots, and our hairstyles definitely reflected that. In the 1970s, braiding one's hair on intricate levels was very much connected to the practices in Senegal and Nigeria. In the 1972 movie Sounder, a young Cicely Tyson wore cornrows and a headscarf for the majority of the movie. During the promotion of the Oscar nominated film, she wore such beautiful, gravity defying braid styles. Cicely also did this iconic style for her Jet magazine cover in 1973. Throughout the 1970s and the 1980s, other stars like singer Patrice Rushen wore braids on the red carpet and during performances. Rushen often paired her braids with beads. Over the years, braids became an outward expression of self acceptance and self love. And it was only a matter of time before other people started to notice this self love and expression that Black people started to have for their hair. Ironically, the people who represent a culture that for centuries imposed its ideal of beauty on us began to wear the same styles of us and our ancestors. Despite the fact that naturally fine or straight hair is not as adaptable for braids, the women who began to wear these braid styles were called beautiful and exotic. Yet, while they were admired, countless of everyday and professional Black people who wore braids, like cashier Cheryl Tatum and telephone operator Sydney M. Boone, faced negative responses. I bring up these two everyday Black women stories because in the 1980s, one was fired and the other was forced to wear a wig because their braid styles violated the company's dress code. Unbelievably, we are still fighting battles like this to this day. This leads me to my next section, the Renaissance. In the 1990s and the early 2000s, the mainstream entertainment industry often promoted Eurocentric beauty ideals that favored straightened or relaxed hair for Black women. Yes, boxed braids and micro braids gained popularity, but this was also a time where weaves and pressed hair were worn by Black women in the spotlight. I mean, rightfully so, though. I'm not knocking anybody who wear weave wear a wig. Child, we was eating up all the hairstyles then and now. Okay? To us, we were just rocking those styles. But unfortunately, those styles were seen as more presentable, more desirable, more grown up to people in the public eye, especially considering that Black women were constantly and are still constantly discriminated against for their natural hair and rocking natural hairstyles. I also feel that this mentality bled into the late 2000s and early 2010s. But nevertheless, as hip hop became the standard of pop culture cool in the 1990s and the 2000s, braids still reigned with our Black creatives on the big screens and small screens. Janet Jackson made waist-length box braids famous in the 1993 movie Poetic Justice, and who can forget Brandy's braids in the video for her smash debut single I Wanna Be Down. She later wore them on her sitcom Moesha, which ran from 1996 to 2001, and in the video for her 1998 hit The Boy Is Mine. Once the 2000s came, celebrity hairstylist Vernon Francois believes that braids reached new heights during this period. Think of people like Beyonce and Raven Simone, even Alicia Keys stepping onto the scene. Vernon had this to say: when Alicia Keys came out with her look in the early 2000s, it was a really big deal. She further commercialized the idea that you could be a successful artist with braids. Regardless of the negativity, in the 1990s and 2000s, braids showcased itself as a protective style that is beneficial to Black hair. It helped to normalize protective styles at a time when Black authentic hairstyles were often stigmatized in professional and educational settings. Now, I want to discuss in detail some important trailblazers of this era. I'm kicking things off with my girl, Brandy. When Brandy made her musical debut in 1993, she was an adorable, smiley faced teenager that everybody wanted to be down with. This wasn't only because of her record breaking hits, but because of her iconic braided hairstyles. It didn't take long for Brandy braids to become the most requested style in every hair salon around town in the mid 90s. When asked about her first album and the impact it made on her signature braid looks, Brandy said this: I thought it was interesting being a young African American woman with braids because at first, people were telling me that I shouldn't be wearing braids. I just went against that and started doing different things with my braids. Every hairstyle you saw with natural hair or straight hair or kinky hair, you saw me with braids, and I love that. Next, I'll be discussing Beyonce. Beyonce's embrace of braids in the 1990s and 2000s played a significant role in popularizing and normalizing Black hairstyles in the mainstream culture. Beyonce's global superstardom helped amplify the visibility of braids and their influence. During her time in Destiny's Child and throughout her early solo career, Beyonce often wore micro braids and tree braids. Rarely at this time was the singer ever spotted without her hair being braided. I am sure that Beyonce gained a lot of her hair inspiration from Mama Tina because if you didn't know, Miss Tina Knowles ran her own hair salon back in the day, and baby, she was cold. From what I hear and what I saw, she was cold. So I know Beyonce took a lot of inspiration from growing up in that type of environment as well. And I read Miss Tina Knowles' book Matriarch, and I love that portion of her book where she just talks into so much detail about, what that salon meant to her and what it meant to the community who she was serving was most important to her. What am I making these people feel like when they go home? And I know I'm getting off tangent, but it's still in the topic of this topic. Just what getting your hair done in the African American culture, what does that mean? What is the feeling in all that? But whatever, I'm rambling. But Beyonce's influence on braids did not end in the 2000s. She continues to evolve and popularize braid styles. I'll discuss this a little more later. Next up is D'Angelo. D'Angelo's braids in the 90s and 2000s had a significant cultural impact by challenging conventional R&B heartthrob imagery and merging a street aesthetic with a soulful, timeless sound. This created a unique and influential identity that was simultaneously grounded and artistic. When D'Angelo emerged in the mid 90s with his album Brown Sugar, his style was a contrast to the R&B performers of this time. His hair was a huge reflection of who he was as an artist. He even wore braids on his two iconic album covers for Voodoo and Brown Sugar, as I mentioned. D'Angelo knew exactly who he was within, and it reflected so beautifully on the outside. Next up is Alicia Keys. Alicia Keys' braids in the 90s and the early 2000s had a significant cultural impact by challenging conventional beauty standards for women in the R&B and pop music industries. Her signature styles included beaded Fulani braids and cornrows. Alicia celebrated her black roots and inspired a generation of fans and other artists to embrace their individuality as well. When Alicia Keys burst onto the scene with her debut album, Songs in A Minor, in 2001, wearing braids that connected her to her African ancestry and celebrated her natural hair texture was important to her, which is why she showed up on the album cover with braids. Her consistent embrace of her natural self laid the groundwork for her later no makeup movement in 2016, which further challenged the entertainment industry's pressure on black women to conform. Her bold and authentic image from the beginning of her career gave a powerful message. Her style served as a declaration that she should not be changed to fit an industry mold. As she told Glamour UK, "How you look is your statement." Next is Janet Jackson. Janet Jackson's portrayal of the character Justice made the style a must have for girls everywhere and brought a new level of mainstream glamour to protective styling. For many young black women and girls, Janet's braided look provided a powerful form of cultural representation. Her effortless beauty and strength in the role made the hairstyle wildly desired. Beyond the initial fresh braids look, the film also captured the look of worn in, slightly frizzy braids, normalizing a natural part of the protective style journey. This countered the pressure for constant neatness and highlighted a more authentic black experience on screen. As one writer from The Atlantic noted, the braids were a character and of themselves, symbolizing the beauty of black women and a character's emotional transformation. By appearing in the mainstream film of Black Braids, Janet Jackson followed trailblazers like Cicely Tyson and helped break down exclusionary beauty norms. Her influence definitely opened the doors for other black celebrities like Brandy and Beyonce to popularize braid styles. Next up is Venus and Serena. Venus and Serena Williams' beaded braids in the 1990s and 2000s had a profound cultural impact by serving as a powerful display of unapologetic Black identity within the predominantly white and conservative world of tennis. This iconic style became a source of pride for Black communities and inspired a new generation of diverse players. The Williams sisters' style and skill attracted attention and at times faced controversy within the tennis establishment. The braids drew criticism and negative headlines from the press, who saw the look as a disruption of tennis tradition. Girl, please. The issue accumulated in a notorious Beadgate incident at the 1999 Australian Open, where a point was awarded to Venus Williams' opponent after a bead fell from her hair. Let that sink in. Exactly. Despite the pushback, the sisters continued to champion their signature style, refusing to be defined by others' expectations. As Serena later explained, "We weren't afraid to be black in tennis, and that was different." The braids were the beginning of the Williams sisters' trailblazing approach to fashion. Their choices, including bold outfits and colorful beads, sparked global conversations and expanded the definition of what was possible in professional sports. Dr. Irene Obika wrote a beautiful article on her connection to the Williams sisters. She perfectly captured the shared nostalgic experiences of young black women. "We grew up having our mothers, grandmothers, and aunts styling our hair. Even though we knew the importance and the artistry of protective styles, it was not reflected when we turned on our TVs." Here is a paragraph from her article that really reflected this essence. "And then came the tennis phenomenon, Serena and Venus Williams. I still remember all these years later the feeling in my heart seeing beautiful, popular black young ladies on television whose hair adorned beads. colorful, powerful beads are all I saw as a young girl watching championship tennis matches. I was enamored. I never even liked tennis until I saw the way their hair captured my attention. They look like me. Look at their hair. Beads on TV. I can't believe it. These were words that I would sometimes scream out loud and even whisper to myself. I walked with my shoulders back and prouder each time the sisters won their matches, but wore their beaded braids while doing it. Keeping the topic on sports, next up is Allen Iverson. Iverson's style, including his braids, was a powerful demonstration of black culture within the NBA, breaking away from the more sanitized looks of previous stars and showing that athletes could be themselves. He was a crucial role model for inner city and black youth, showing them that they could be both athletic and true to their cultural background. His influence extended beyond the basketball court, impacting fashion and even rap music. Iverson's style directly contributed to a significant shift in the NBA's dress code, forcing the league to adapt to evolving cultural landscapes of its players. Athletes, fans, and even non athletes adopted styles like arm sleeves, tattoos, and braids because of his influence. He challenged the idea of being told what to wear, arguing that athletes should be comfortable and allowed to express themselves, even if it meant pushing boundaries. What was once a controversial choice became an iconic hairstyle, with modern celebrities and athletes continuing to be inspired by his look to this day. Iverson's braids remain a symbol of unapologetic blackness and self expression. Hairstylist Araxi Lindsay agrees. She is responsible for the Bantu knot style worn by Jada Pinkett Smith's character in the Matrix franchise, and even styled Pinkett Smith's hair in cornrows for the Kingdom Come movie premiere in 2001. Lindsay said this: I hadn't seen female actors on the red carpet with the cornrow braid style I did on Jada's hair for the Kingdom Come premiere. Lindsay tells Teen Vogue, back then, people weren't calling them cornrows at the time. That style of braids were Iverson braids. Next up is Raven Simone. Throughout the 2000s, Raven Simone's braid hairstyles on her show That's So Raven played a huge role in increasing the visibility of black hair culture and mainstream media. While she also wore other protective styles, her braid looks were the most impactful, helping to normalize these hairstyles for a young, wide audience. Now I'll take some time to acknowledge some honorable mentions of people who also held it down for this era. Artists like Miss Lauryn Hill, Lil Bow Wow, Eve, Kellis, Maxwell, India Ari, Jill Scott, Erica Badu, and so many more. These iconic black celebrities really helped push back against this narrative on black hair. Their representation celebrated black beauty and black style. This gave a new generation of black youth, black women, and black men a chance to really see representation on screen. Their contributions help to empower and embrace our own culturally significant hairstyles with pride. All right, finishing off that section, we're heading into the next section, the revival of braids in the mainstream media. Based on my experience, I remember from the late 2000s and early 2010s, the more popular hairstyles in the black community began to be sew-ins, quick weaves, wigs, closures, frontals, but most importantly, wearing your natural hair. Protective styles like braids kinda got put on a back burner, for women at least, but only momentarily. Honestly, I can understand the switch in direction though. We began to learn how to properly utilize protective styles outside of just braiding your hair. And trust, we looked good. I think a beautiful example that really embodies this era is the Think Like a Man franchise. Also, I remember vividly being able to watch firsthand the rise of dreadlocks during the 2010s era as well. Especially being from Chicago, that's when Chief Keef was coming up. So everybody and their grandson wanted locks, and they got them. Trust, they got them. It makes for a strong argument that braids and locks, in all of their styles and intricacies, were some of the main hairstyles that defined the 2010s era, though. Styles such as cornrows have been around, but as we began to enter the late 2010s, we saw an influx of celebrities, creatives, and everyday people wearing a variety of braid styles that put the artistry and tradition of hair braiding front and center. For example, box braids, French braids, lemonade braids, and Fulani braids were the hairstyles to rock in the 2010s, especially during the late 2010s. Braids are no longer just a summer style to be worn on vacation or just to be playing sports or even just a nostalgic hair memory to reminisce about. Thus, braids became one way Black people are unapologetically showing up as themselves in Hollywood, in the media, and in the workplace. The rise of braids in the spotlight also served to expose cultural ignorance. Many people began to see these braids as just a trend or even being culturally significant to something so far from Black culture. Some ran cornrows, Fulani braid styles, box braids, etc. But as I mentioned earlier in the video, this wasn't something new. Even in the past decades, we watched very known people participate in this same ignorance. Thankfully, within the past decade, in these recent years, with the help of people like Solange, Janelle Monáe, Justine Skye, ASAP Rocky, Zendaya, Ira Starr, Yara Shahidi, Gabrielle Union, Kendrick Lamar, Amandla Sternberg, Sierra, Tessa Thompson, Marseille Martin, Jalen Brown, FKA Twigs, Lupita Nyong'o, Issa Rae, Chloe and Halle Bailey, Tracy Ellis Ross, Shay Gilligis Alexander, Kiki Palmer, and so many more. We saw braids take center stage on red carpets, on magazine covers, and in everyday life. Off the red carpet, braids made their way into politics too. Surprisingly, right? Probably not so surprising. Lawsuits and viral stories continue to bring attention to hair discrimination. Laws bearing discrimination against protective styles and hair textures, yes, hair textures, passed in states like California, New York, and even New Jersey. But thanks to the popularity of social media, braid styles continue to evolve as people experiment with the new and revisit the old techniques of braiding. Speaking of social media, I'd like to discuss three women who, in my opinion, has recently changed the game for the Black beauty standard shown for Black women in the mainstream media. I'm talking about Miss Serena, Olandria, and Shelley from the Love Island TV series. They showed up as themselves, and it reflected so beautifully. Their braids displayed their authenticity and raw beauty. It also helped bring Shelley and Olandria closer. In their recent interview with Teen Vogue, they both shared this. Some of their favorite one on one moments revolved around their hair, as both chose to wear braids to combat the Fiji heat and multiple messy challenges. I think one of the biggest things for us is when we both walked out, got into the villa, and looked at each other, and we're like, oh, we both got braids, Shelley recalled. On our off days, Shelly and I would be on the floor, crocheting my hair, looping my braids through to freshen them up, Olandra added. We didn't have anyone there to braid our hair. That was just a moment like, yo, you're my girl. You know you're stuck with me, right? You're not going anywhere, Shelly said. My girl, we are in it for the long haul, Olandra added. That bonding over hair is something so communal and familiar for Black women. I wanted to add that tidbit just to show that togetherness, that bonding, that styling your hair brings with other women around you. So talking more about the 2020s now. Expressions and styles have changed, but braiding techniques, and the braiding patterns have truly remained the same. In today's culture, braids are adorned and worn and praised in many different ways. Men and women who wouldn't have worn braids previously now embrace them. Black people are starting to approach braiding and getting their hair braided in many different ways. In today's society, we see more messier and freer styles of braids. In other words, braids don't have to be all neat, they don't have to be so tight and perfect. They can be however you want them to be styled. And this goes back to the point I made about how important Janet Jackson's character Justice was, because she showed a different approach, a different um view on braids with the more frizzy and more messier and careless look, and not even more so careless, but just shows that her braids were worn in. She's an everyday black woman. So I think that's something really important, and I love that it's getting more represented now compared to then. Now I'll be talking about some current creatives that I've noticed played a huge role in the revival of braids in the mainstream media now. In my opinion, they've created a seat at the table for how Black women and Black men can show up in this world around us. The first person is Beyonce. As I said earlier in the video, I will be discussing Beyonce's current impact on braids in the mainstream media today. Beyonce's embrace of braids in the 2010s and 2020s, particularly the side-swept lemonade braids, has had a profound impact on fashion, beauty, and Black hair culture. Her repeated styling of braids in music videos, tours, and high-profile events help normalize and celebrate Black protective hairstyles, influencing both celebrity trends and everyday styles for Black women. During the rise of the natural hair movement in the 2010s, Beyonce's use of braids became a powerful statement of cultural pride and unapologetic Black identity. Her hairstyles in the 2010s showcased the immense versatility of braids, from waist-length box braids to high braided ponytails and intricate cornrows. The artistry of her hairstyles demonstrated the sophistication of elegance and braided looks. In her 2016 visual album Lemonade, Beyonce wore intricate side-swept braids that quickly became a global phenomenon. This look, inspired by Fulani and side-swept cornrow traditions, cemented her influence and spurred countless of recreation attempts by fans and influencers. By wearing braids on red carpets, magazine covers, and on tour, Beyonce helped challenge the perception that protective styles were unkempt or unprofessional. This visibility helped push back discrimination in professional and educational settings. Moving into the 2020s, the 2020 visual album Black is King took the cultural significance of braids to a whole new level. The film featured styles inspired by various African tribes, from the Mangbetu of Congo to the Zulu of South Africa. This was a powerful display that educated audiences on the rich history behind Black hair. It celebrated the diaspora. And that's so important, showing the whole diaspora of Black hair. Her 2020 Ivy Park collection relaunch announcement featured beaded braids spelling out the brand name, elevating the hairstyle to a piece of branded high fashion art. This demonstrated that braids could be both a personal expression and a powerful commercial tool. Cowboy Carter era in 2024, Beyonce sported beaded braids with a significant cultural touchstone and symbolism, creating a Lady Liberty inspired image for the Zoe Report. This demonstrated her continued use of braids as a medium for artistic expression and historical reference. Next, I'll be discussing Doechii. Doechii's braids have a cultural impact by celebrating and reinterpreting Black hair traditions. She connects her hairstyles to Black history and the future. She inspires young Black women to embrace their identity while so effortlessly expressing her identity, which is really important. Doechii styles are not simply classic but innovative, merging traditional Black braid styles with modern aesthetics. Each look tells a story, from the sculptural braids at the 2025 Grammys to the long, flowing lemonade braids at the 2025 BET Awards. Doechii performed on The Late Show, with her cornrows tied to her background dancers, creating a unified look. Hairstylist Malcolm Marquez explained that all three women wore identical outfits with their cornrows connected to form a continuous braid. Marquez and his team extended the braid stitch with 50 more inches of pre-stretched hair, using shine jam and 30-second hair glue for a seamless connection. Each braid was hand sewn to the same length. The design referenced Solange's 2016 Tonight Show performance and Spanish artist Carlota Guerrero, whom Marquez had worked with in 2019. Despite the simple technique, the look needed a week of rehearsal to perfect the size and movement, which goes back to what I said at the beginning. Black hair, Black hairstyles, braid styles take time and effort. It's not just this one, two, and done. It's a process. It's a culture. Next is Angel Reese. Angel Reese's braids have had a significant impact primarily by serving as a form of self expression that showcases her personality and individuality, contributing to her public image as a stylish and confident athlete. Her choice of hairstyle also generates considerable social media buzz and influences trends, making her a cultural figure who reflects and shapes aspects of fashion culture within basketball. Her willingness to experiment with different looks helps her stand out both on and off the court. Like Allen Iverson, before her, Reese's style, including her braid hairstyles, is influenced by and connects with her black culture. This makes her a cultural trendsetter for a new generation of fans. Her hairstyles are a key part of her personal brand. It even led to collaborations with Mayo, which highlights the crossover between her athletic and fashion influences. Next up is Tim's. Tim's has revived 90s inspired braid styles and popularized versatile, elegant, protective styles within the black hair community. Her blend of traditional braiding with modern touches has sparked trends on social media, inspiring many to recreate her designs. She has brought several specific braided looks into the mainstream, including the 90s inspired half up, half down style with braids at the top or at the front of the hair and loose hair or sewn in hair in the back, reminiscent of characters like Kim Parker from The Parkers. Tim's elevated classic box braids with wavy or curly ends for a goddess like aesthetic, noted after her London concerts. Her high ponytail with braids and French curls inspired many, including me, and her patterned braid updos for formal events have been praised. Beyond specific looks, Tim braid styles impact trends and cultural perceptions, extending her influence from music to fashion as a key figure in the Afrobeats movement, shaping global views of West African culture. Next, I want to discuss Mana Bannerman. Mana braid styles are influencing K-pop by normalizing diverse hairstyles, promoting cultural pride, and increasing representation for Black and mixed race artists globally. As a member of Cat's Eye, her embrace of braids challenges Korean beauty standards and brings Black protective hairstyles into the mainstream. Her stylist, Humberto Leon, supports incorporating diverse backgrounds into their concepts. Swiss Ghanan Mana values being a role model, showcasing her natural hair to celebrate her heritage and connect with fans. As one of the few Black artists under Hybe, her hairstyles redefine K-pop idol aesthetics, promoting inclusivity. Her hairstyles have even gone viral on TikTok and Pinterest, influencing so many fashion trends and sparking discussions on representation and cultural respect in K-pop as pertaining to Black people, our culture, and everything that comes with it. And since I'm on the topic of girl groups, next is Renee Downer. Renee is a part of the girl group Flow. Her hairstyles, along with those of her bandmates, contribute to their authentic representation of Black womanhood in the R&B music scene. As a member of a popular invisible group, Downer's style, including her hair, contributes to the broader fashion and beauty trends. With being in a girl group, in a group in general, her braids can influence fans' hair choices, similarly to how Black artists like Destiny Child's members and TLC members set trends in the past. Renee's ginger colored braids have been a popular and influential part of her look, as shown by numerous fan recreations and inspiration boards on platforms like Pinterest and TikTok. Next is Willow Smith. Willow Smith's braid hairstyles have significantly impacted self expression and Black hair culture, challenging beauty norms. Her hair choices are tied to Afro culture and ancestral heritage, serving as ancestral healing, which I think that is such a beautiful way for Willow to describe that. For the 2024 Met Gala, Willow showcased a cylindrical braided updo honoring the Mangbetu tribe, emphasizing Black hairstyles, cultural significance. From her early song, With My Hair, she has promoted self expression through her changing hairstyles, empowering others to do the same. Willow considers her hair experimentation key to her identity, development in the public eye. Next up is Tyla. Tyla's braid styles have made a significant impact by promoting the appreciation of natural hairstyles and demonstrating their versatility and glamour, influencing trends in protective and decorative styles like Fulani and mermaid braids. Her impact extends to cultural conversations, emphasizing the importance of heritage, cultural expression, and the celebration of natural beauty through hair. Her influence also includes making these traditionally rooted styles fashion forward, inspiring individuals to embrace authenticity and use braids as a form of self expression and self confidence, which I feel like she's done that since the moment she came out up until now. And next up is Ayo Edebiri. Ayo's braids in The Bear are a significant element of her character. Sydney Adamu used to explore her personal life, cultural identity, and the work life balance she struggles to maintain. And I'm super excited to discuss Ayo because I love The Bear, and her character is so important to me just based on how I'm able to relate to her, but also what she represents for black women. And I'm going to get into that. So let me just stop rambling and stick to the script. The most prominent showcase of her braids is in season 4, episode Worms. Worms was actually written by Edebiri and her co-star Lionel Boyce, who doesn't appear in the episode but plays Marcus in the show. I knew that the episode had to be really black and feel really lived in South Side, Edebiri says. In the episode Worms, Sydney travels to her cousin Chantel's house to get her braids redone. This experience provides a window into a part of her life outside of the chaotic kitchen, reconnecting her with family and her black culture. For many black women, hair is a deeply meaningful cultural construct. The episode portrays the hours long process of braiding, including the gossip and the bonding that happens during the appointment, which is a recognizable and affirming experience for black viewers. In this episode, the narrative also highlights the ignorance and microaggressions Sydney faces in her professional life. When a white chef, Adam Shapiro, calls her on her off day, he dismisses her hair appointment, it correctly assuming that it will only take maybe 2 hours at most. I don't know what he knew about braids, but honey, you're sadly mistaken. This demonstrates his obliviousness to the time and effort involved in black hair care. And it beautifully contrasts his world with Sydney's. And it contrasts the bigger picture, how some people really don't understand black hair, you know, the time and effort that it really takes for this ism. Next up is Rihanna. Rihanna's use of braids has a cultural impact by highlighting braiding as a rich ancestral tradition for Black women, particularly after her desire to braid her son's hair as a connection to their heritage and history. Her personal choices and public embrace of braids, from long grazing styles to other iconic looks, contribute to the cultural prominence of braiding. Rihanna feels that braiding is something in our blood and a vital link to the past. She also credits her partner, A$AP Rocky, for deepening her understanding of the cultural significance of braiding. As she graced the magazine's cover of Vogue China in two looks, one being a custom white C plus series dress paired with box braids, she talked about her own experience getting her hair braided while growing up in Barbados. She said this is a form of protection, our roots, and a tradition left by our ancestors. At the end of the day, it's still beautiful, and I love it. From an aesthetic standpoint, there's so many things you can do with braids and so many looks you can achieve. I remember seeing this scene all the time when I was a kid. Tourists coming to Barbados, sitting on the beach in the sun, braiding their hair and letting it go. In fact, I have wanted to do this myself since I was a child, but in the end, I would let the girls at home or neighbors comb my hair. My mom also braided my hair, but she eventually always sent me to the salon to get it braided because it lasts longer there. And I just think that's so cute. And I know she already said it, but I know Rihanna is really going to pass that down. Her and ASAP collectively is going to pass down that tradition to their kids. And it's so beautiful how she can reminisce and also connect her culture from Barbados to the American culture of braids and how, I don't know. I love it. I love it. I love it. Next up, and lastly, is Zoe Kravitz. Zoe Kravitz's signature braids have had a huge impact by normalizing and popularizing protective black hairstyles in the mainstream media and even within fashion. First worn as a homage to the 90s style, the look evolved into a powerful statement about identity and self acceptance that inspires black women to embrace their natural hair. Kravitz's choice of hairstyle reflects a legacy of hair as an expression of identity to her family. Her mother, actress Lisa Bonet, was also known for her iconic bohemian chic locks, and her father, musician Lenny Kravitz, for his rebellious dreadlocks. Zoe's braids are a modern extension of this lineage, celebrating black hair culture and creativity. Zoe's braids definitely help bring braid styles like micro braids, tree braids, and overall braids that have the signature messy look back in the media. To this day, people still reference Zoe Kravitz braids when asking for the hairstyle they want at the salon or with their hairstylist. The rich history of braids are symbolic across many cultures. But as for black culture, braids are such a beautiful reflection of its people. The black diaspora is so beautiful and unique. Now more than ever, braids represent black culture everywhere all at once. Sonia Clark, who is a black artist, says that she sees black hair as a fabric for creation. She argues that hairdressing is the first form of fiber or textile art. I couldn't agree more. I am so grateful I got to experience this art since I've been a young girl up until now. From watching the evolution of braid trends to learning how to treat braids as a protective style and passing these on to others who look just like me. So that is everything I have on the revival of braids in the mainstream media. Please, please, please share your experiences with braids and what they mean to Black culture to you in the comments. Also, if there is anything that I did not necessarily touch on or anything you would like to add to a topic I already have within this video, please feel free to share that in the comments. I really would love to hear your thoughts on this whole topic and just like I said, maybe on things that I don't even know about and that you can even educate me and other people on. I truly appreciate your time and attention. Remember to stay grateful, stay inspired, and stay beautiful. I'll see you next time. In the book Hair Story, Untangling the Roots of Black Hair in America, Amer- America. Welcome to the Renaissance. These motherfuckers ain't stopping me. I don't know how to say the last name. Sorry. Oh, my stomach growling. Yo, there's a gnat steady flying in my face. And it was just 444. Thank you, Spirit, but come on now. Shit. Okay, clock it. Oh, why did they take me back to the top? It's true.
Anywhere you go, anywhere you go, give it all. Anywhere